At this point, we've seen enough juvenile criminal cases to understand that children and teenagers are entirely capable of diabolical, violent actions.
It's them damn video games.
We've also seen enough juvenile and adult criminal cases to understand that the environment and circumstances surrounding one's upbringing often play an important role in the kind of life they can go on to live and the activities they carry out. These two realities found their intersection in the case of Catherine and Curtis.
Bro, that's
Jones. The siblings who were 13
Them's
and
is
12
dead
at
ass
the time
little
of
ass
the
kids,
conviction
bro.
had endured a myriad of abnormalities in their formative
Bro, there's this dead
These
ass
experiences
little ass
led them to a place
kids.
of meticulously plotting the annihilation of their primary and perceived accomplice oppressors. Welcome back to Twisted Minds. My name is James, and today we will be taking a look at the previously unknown story of the youngest convicted.
Nigga, they grew up in jail? That's horrible, bro. Those are some dumbass kids, bro.
Adult murderer, Catherine and Curtis Jones. Want to know what kind of experiences they were subjected to at the time that led them to a place of violence?
They in California, gotta be.
Or are you interested in finding out how these two ended up being the youngest adult criminals? Keep watching to have these questions and many more answered.
What the fuck? I'm not going off, bro. I'm going off the fit, bro.
The exact date of Catherine's birth is uncertain, but she was born in 1985 to her parents, Curtis Jones.
Wait, how you don't know her
and
birthday?
Stacey Parks. While this seemed to be the start of something beautiful, underneath was a gory reality that the Jones couple had been living in. According to Stacey, she had been enduring physical abuse from Curtis since just after the pair began dating. The abuse was so bad that one of Curtis's violent outbursts, which happened when Stacey was pregnant with their first child, Catherine, caused her uterus to tear, and Catherine was born premature.
What?
About a year later, on the 31st of May, 1986, the couple welcomed their second child, Curtis Fairchild Jones.
Bro,
the family
caused her uterus to tear, bro. Huh?
The four continued to live in relative happiness, and they cherished the company of one another. Or at least that was what it seemed like when the two young children were just happy to see their parents around. Beyond what was obvious to the children, Stacey continued to endure physical abuse from Curtis. It is speculated that the children became aware of the situation at some point. Eventually, it all became too much for Stacey to bear, so she packed her things and left home in 1989.
She take the kids?
Unable to take the then 4-year-old Catherine and 3-year-old Curtis with her for fear that her mother would reject the children because they were biracial, Stacey left the two children in the care of Curtis Sr. At the time, Stacey thought that she was doing the best thing for her children, but she could not have been further from the truth. With Stacey's departure, what was once a foursome had become a trio, and so the children would learn to adjust to the new arrangement and enjoy the company and attention of their father. But that too would soon be threatened.
Bro, how do 12-year-olds become killers?
It is unclear just how things developed from 1989 when Stacey left Curtis, but by 1994, just 5 years later, she could tell that all was not well with her children. In the 5 years after Stacey left Florida for Kansas, one of Curtis's male relatives had begun living with him and the children. At first glance, this doesn't seem like too much to worry about. After all, family members live together for financial or other reasons at different points in their lives, right? Well, the problem with this particular relative that no one was aware of or just chose to ignore was that he had a very concerning criminal
Don't tell me this nigga
In addition
was
to
a
spending
weirdo,
6
bro.
years in prison for robbery,
Don't tell me he got some weird shit on his shit, bro.
was also a registered
Oh
pedophile.
my God,
In 1993, just a year before suspicions began.
Bro. Nigga, you bought a registered sex offender in your crib.
Pedophile. In 1993, just a year.
Right when someone who's registered moves on your street, everyone get a noti. Bro, how embarrassing would that be? Nigga, I'll be fucking damned if I let one of my family members who did some bullshit like that. Fuck no. Bro, imagine you let this nigga in your crib, all your neighbors get notified you just let that nigga in your house and they living.
Year before suspicions began to arise, this relative had been convicted of sexual crimes involving his then girlfriend's daughter, who was 14 years old at the time. In 1994, when Catherine and Curtis visited their mother in Kansas for the holidays, Curtis revealed to Stacey that he had been enduring abuse at the hands of this relative. Curtis Jr.,
Wait, what?
being the only other male in the house, had to share a room with the relative, and according to him, he was being followed by the older man. As it turns out, Catherine was also suffering
Bro. How does that even make sense? The nigga is literally registered for doing that to a 14-year-old. Then you have your own blood son sleeping in the same room as that nigga. You have your same blood son sleeping in the same room.
Same fate, but it is unclear whether she spoke up at this time. Following Curtis's statements, reports were made and an investigation began, but records show that investigations into the case were closed after young Curtis changed his story, saying it had been a lie, most likely under compulsion or fear. That might have been the single mistake, marking the point where everything began to go wrong.
Bro, huh? Nigga, he could have pressured the kid into scaring the nigga and like telling him to lie. Bro, so they stopped the case because he said it was a lie.
Compulsion or fear. That might have been the single mistake, marking the point where everything began to go wrong. On the part of Curtis, his parents, and the authorities, if someone had done something a little different,
bro, I'm not lying. That's the one thing I'm worried about, bro. I feel like the police don't actually care unless like the situation is on the news. Like I think about that a lot of times. Like how do regular niggas get treated in situations like this? One little mishap happened that should have been investigated into more, and they were like, okay, we'll just drop the charges.
Turned out much better than they did. Sadly, that was not the case, and a huge tragedy was in sight.
Bro.
In the meantime, Curtis and Catherine continued to suffer physical and sexual abuse with short-lived periods of outspokenness and quests for justice. Records show that 2 years later,
what the fuck was the dad doing while they sitting there telling him that they're being abused?
An investigation
Why is the nigga still in the crib?
Concerning Curtis sustaining a bruised and swollen eye. It is uncertain just how far this investigation went and if any substantial findings or actions were made, but judging from the fact that things
what is the father doing,
in the
bro?
same abusive manner in the Jones household, it is very unlikely. Just months before the murder, in September of 1998, a third investigation was started. This time it was concerning Catherine. The 13-year-old girl had run away from home, and her school teacher, being worried for her welfare, made a report stating concerns that Catherine was being taken sexual advantage of. An investigation was opened, and
nigga, the teacher is telling the police about this shit. Wow, the father still have that nigga in the crib. How does the teacher know about this shit? How is the teacher filing a police report while the father is in the crib and they literally said they have been outspoken multiple times?
Authorities admitted to finding some indicators that Catherine was being sexually abused. However, like the ones before it, the investigation was short-lived. According to Catherine, she had previously tried to tell her father of the abuse, but he did not believe her and took the side of the relative in question.
Nigga took the side of a pedophile.
Curtis Sr. intimidated Catherine into lying to the officials and denying that the abuse ever occurred. Also, frightened by the possibility.
Bro, huh? Nah. Some people actually don't. No, some people, this shit actually about to piss me off, bro. Bro, do this nigga not love his kids? Is this nigga not protective whatsoever over his kids? If my daughter tell me something happened to her, bro, whoever is in question, nigga, they is at risk themselves. This nigga telling his daughter to lie and say that it didn't happen. His own daughter.
Lying to the officials and denying that the abuse ever occurred. Also, frightened by the possibility of being separated from her family, Catherine gave in, and the investigations were brought to a stop.
Nigga,
despite not diving deep into the situation, as many believe
beating the mama while pregnant, so I'm not surprised.
Investigators reportedly warned Curtis Sr. of this relative and the danger he posed to the children.
Bro,
well,
you know how bad it is to push 12-year-olds to become murderers, bro? Like that shit just realized in my mind.
Trouble in the form of investigation was warded off in the Jones household. Trouble continued to brew within. Both Curtis and Catherine were still being taken sexual advantage of by the family member.
Bro,
and it seemed like their father and his girlfriend, Nicole Spikes, who had begun living with the family, could not be any less alarmed about the situation.
Nigga, they were just letting it happen.
Found companionship and solidarity with one another, with Catherine revealing that Curtis was the only one who believed her when she came out with the sexual allegations against their relative. He said that he believed
I see with the 3 months. Appreciate that, gang. Come on, man.
According to her, was when a few days after the last investigation was closed, she was taking a shower. The relative in question came into the bathroom, pulled the shower curtains open, and began masturbating. The traumatized Catherine huddled in the corner of the bathroom and sobbed until he was done. When he was done, he left 50 cents on the top of the toilet seat for Catherine. After the
Now, as a father of a child, you could hear this and not be enraged, bro. Like, that's not Draco. That's what I'm saying. Like, if I heard that shit, that nigga is at risk himself, bro. If the father has to be in jail, bro. If he's not the one that they murdered, he has to be in jail.
Incident, Catherine wrote in her diary, "I'm going to kill everyone." She was angry that she and her brother's cries for help were going unanswered by her father and his girlfriend. And so she concluded that they deserved to die alongside their abuser. Catherine eventually told Curtis about her desires to end the adults' lives, and the pair began plotting to bring this dream to life. They were going to free themselves from torment by killing their abuser and eliminating.
Do you know how, bro, they put 12-year-olds through so much trauma that it pushed them to murder, bro. Nigga, do you know how crazy that is?
Eliminating the chance of this event ever happening again by killing the people they believe allowed the abuser.
And the Thomas with the 21 months.
21 months. 1999, the siblings planned to set. With their father briefly stepping out of the house and their abuser not expected to be back until later that evening, the children were home alone with Nicole. Hoping to receive minimal opposition by killing one person at a time, with no one else in the house, the two set out. The 29-year-old Sonia Nicole Spikes sat at the dining room table, working on a 500
Nigga, they plotted to take out one by one? So do y'all think Nicole knew a lot too? Because she was the boyfriend of the dad, and the dad is a horrible person. They said she did. She just as bad.
Jigsaw puzzle while the children went and retrieved their weapon of choice, their father's 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Catherine took the first shot, hitting Nicole in her stomach. However, she dropped the gun due to the rebound of the shot she fired. Curtis picked up the gun and ran wild, shooting at Nicole and all her surroundings. In all, 9 bullets were fired, 4 which fatally wounded Nicole. As soon as the shots were fired and Curtis caught his breath, reality set in, and he began to freak out at the realization that he had killed someone. This wasn't just some fantasy in our heads anymore. It was real, Catherine said in an interview. Catherine did her best to calm her brother down, and the pair set to work in an attempt to clean up the scene. They dragged Nicole's body away from the dining room and tried to use bleach to clean up the bloodstains. After that, the two tried their best to make it look like a robbery had occurred. And then they fled the house, stopping briefly at their neighbors to tell them that they had shot the gun by accident. Having tied loose ends up to the best of their ability, Catherine and Curtis hid in the woods nearby their house.
Wait, so they didn't get the dad and the other dude?
It is unclear who alerted the police about Nicole's death.
Bro.
However, it is likely to be the neighbors whom Curtis and Catherine confessed to, or perhaps Curtis Sr. came home to his girlfriend's dead body and alerted the authorities. Either way, the police were alerted and investigations began. One could say that this was the only investigation into the happenings at the Jones household that ever yielded any actual results. Learning from the witness reports of the neighbors that Curtis and Catherine were responsible
all them investigations
for the murder,
and it took this.
In search for them. The children were eventually found on the morning of the 7th of January 1999. They were in the woods near their house, where they had hidden for the night. And now reality and the consequences of their actions were staring them in the face. At the ages of 12 and 13, Curtis and Catherine were the youngest people to be charged as adults for first-degree murder. If found guilty, which was very likely to happen,
they got charged for adults at 12 and 13? Wait, how? They got tried as adults at 12 and 13. Bro, if this video doesn't say that the father or the nigga literally abusing them is in jail, it's a crazy world, bro.
They were to be sentenced to life in prison.
It's a
However,
crazy world,
seeing as they were very young, prosecutors were able to strike a deal with the children, allowing them to be tried for second-degree murder, which had a sentence of only 18 years in probation for life. This deal also meant that there was not going to be a proper trial of the children's case. No witnesses, no evidence, nothing. Young, inexperienced, and scared, the children accepted the deal.
Did they have a lawyer?
This, neither Catherine nor Curtis spoke up about the real reasons for their actions, most likely anticipating that they would not be believed as it had happened in the past. It soon became widely accepted that they killed Nicole out of spite for taking all of their father's affection away from them, and because he had planned to marry her. The media and other onlookers believed that the children feared that their father's relationship with Nicole would affect the current dynamic they had with their mother. Alan Landman, Curtis's lawyer, said about their silence, "It's almost like they had a pact of silence, and for some reason, they thought that that would help them." He said that had he been aware of the abuse at the time of the trial, they could have had a much better opportunity at getting a better sentence. However, Mayor Todd Goodyear, an official at the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, firmly believed that the children's actions were inexcusable. In his words, "There are a lot of people who have been abused and didn't do something like this. At some point, you have to take responsibility for your actions." And
you
they
take
did
responsibility,
pay the price
but
for their actions.
come on, gang.
In August of 1999, now aged 13 and 14 years old, Curtis and Catherine were each sentenced to 18 years in prison, followed by a lifetime of probation.
Bro, they didn't say anything, bruh. Would they have used it as motive for first degree? They didn't say anything because they were scared, bro. They didn't say anything till after. Because once you get your sentence, bro, you're done. Like, you can't, nigga, they're not gonna say, okay, redo. Not that we know. Can't the case get revisited? If it can, why didn't they? Nah, but the police knew what was that. Yeah, they had like
There
4.
didn't seem to be much
Wait, hold on. How did that not come up in court when they had like 4 or 5 past investigations of sexual assault?
Activity in the siblings' prison lives for the most of their first decade in prison. In 2004, however, Curtis gained a short taste of freedom
this
when
happened in
Hurricane Francis
99.
havoc on the facility where he was being held. Age 19 at the time, Curtis and several other teenagers fled the juvenile detention center, but their freedom was short-lived, and they were recaptured just 24 hours later. As punishment, his sentence was extended by 318 days. 5 years later, in 2009, the truth of the circumstances surrounding the murder came to light. In an interview with the Florida Today newspaper, Catherine revealed that she and her brother were taken sexual advantage of. In their
that many years later?
Murdering Nicole. Catherine expressed regret for taking Nicole's life, but also mentioned that she was relieved when she got to prison. She said, "I know it sounds like really messed up, but there was a point where I was just away from all that, and I was by myself, and I was safe." Catherine also revealed in the interview.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh, that's actually crazy. If your life got better by going to prison, you had to feel bad, bro.
That she had only seen her brother once since they were imprisoned. The siblings used to communicate by mail, but that stopped when Curtis was moved to a new prison facility, and the warden said it was unacceptable for them to communicate, as they were co-defendants in the case. Ramus Fleming, a U.S. Navy senior, read a 2009 story and was touched by Catherine's experiences. He reached out to her in writing, and the two became pen pals. The pair sparked a romance through their letters and got married in November 2013 at the Hernando Correctional Institution Chapel. Catherine was 28 years old at the time she got married to Ramus. Ramus himself soon began.
Nigga, how the fuck you marry a girl in jail, bro? Yo, married through jail cell pen pals is nuts. Wait, I am actually confused on this.
The pair sparked a romance through their letters and got married in November 2013 at the Hernando Correctional Institution.
This nigga married her.
Catherine was 28 years old at the time she got married to Ramus. Ramus himself soon began making plans and adjustments to allow him to support his wife better, as she was soon to be
wife. This nigga wifed her while she was in a jail cell. I've actually never heard a story about it like this. This nigga wifed her while she was in a jail cell.
Released from prison. Around the time that Catherine was to be released, Ramus retired as a naval officer to allow him more time to walk her through life outside of prison, as a lot had changed since she was 13 years old.
Oh my, bro, you know how crazy that would be? Bro, that would be like being born again. Bro, imagine getting locked up in 1999 and coming out near 2020. All that new shit that's out. That would be a fever dream, bro.
After serving a little over 85% of their original sentence, Catherine and Curtis were released from prison. The exact date of Catherine's release is uncertain, but she was released roughly 2 weeks before her brother Curtis, who was released on the 28th of July, 2015.
Came out in 2015.
Were aged 30 and 29 years old, respectively. Curtis left prison as an ordained Christian minister and has gone on to continue his life as one. Catherine, on the other hand, has gone after a more traditional life.
That hurts,
Unfortunately, her marriage with Ramus did not work out too well, but she has forged ahead and has so much to be grateful for. She received a presidential academic
Honestly, this might be one of the worst stories I've ever heard, bro.
College as long as she can maintain a 3.75 GPA. Catherine is also contributing efforts
This actually might be one of the
fair
worst stories I've heard,
sentencing
bro.
of young people. Both Curtis and Catherine are working hard at adapting to the technological and social changes that occurred in the 16 years that they were in prison, while also making sure that they do not violate the rules of their probation. So far,
They're on
all
probation for
appears to be
life,
going
right?
smoothly. Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Minds. That was the case of Catherine.
Bro, so what about the nigga abusing them? What about the dad letting it? Bro, it just doesn't click in my mind. How is it possible, as someone who has brought a kid into this world with your own blood, to hear something like that and not take that shit serious, bro? It's not processing. How is that possible? Like, he knows it's happening, but he doesn't care. How is he not in trouble about that shit?